The world almost fought a war no one would ever officially admit existed. A silent confrontation at the bottom of the planet, where the cold could kill faster than bullets, and suspicion was deadlier than either. In the early 1960s, as nuclear arsenals multiplied and trust evaporated, strategists began to fear that the next great front of the Cold War would not be in Berlin or Cuba, but beneath the ice of Antarctica. To understand why such a bizarre possibility felt real, we have to step into the mindset of the era. The Cold War was not just a rivalry of armies and missiles, it was a contest of positioning. Geography itself became a weapon. Every ocean corridor, mountain pass, and polar air route was studied for advantage. Antarctica, once dismissed as a frozen wasteland, suddenly looked different when viewed through the lens of global strategy. It sat astride southern shipping lanes, offered unparalleled vantage points for surveillance, at least in theory, concealed whatever a determined superpower might hide beneath kilometers of ice. Officially, the continent was protected by international agreement. Nations pledged to keep it demilitarized, sanctuary for science. Research stations blossomed across the ice. Weather observatories, glaciology labs, astronomical outposts. Photographs showed smiling scientists drilling ice cores and raising flags in the name of cooperation. But Cold War planners were trained to distrust appearances. If a rival could gain even a marginal advantage, why wouldn't they try? That question, whispered in intelligence briefings and defense ministries, planted the seed of paranoia. In our alternate timeline, suspicion begins with anomalies. Surveillance aircraft detect unusual radio emissions from a remote research installation. The signals are brief, encrypted, and inconsistent with standard scientific transmissions. Analysts debate their meaning late into the night. Some insist it is harmless instrumentation. Others warn it resembles military-grade communications testing. No proof emerges, but uncertainty is enough to trigger contingency planning. Because in the Cold War, uncertainty was escalation's most reliable engine. Soon, reconnaissance missions intensify. Satellites, still primitive by modern standards, capture ambiguous images, extended runways, reinforced storage areas, unusual fuel stockpiles. None of this conclusively violates international agreements. Each element has an innocent explanation, yet, taken together, they suggest preparation for something larger. Facilities that could serve science or war. Meanwhile, logistics flights to the continent grow more frequent. Heavy cargo aircraft brave brutal winds to deliver sealed containers. Official manifests cite laboratory equipment, but intelligence officers, trained to read between the lines, wonder what science requires hardened shielding and restricted access. Fear spreads not among the public, who remain blissfully unaware, but inside war rooms where worst-case scenarios are doctrine. What if the ice concealed early warning radar capable of tracking missile launches across hemispheres? What if hardened bunkers allowed covert staging of long-range aircraft? Or alarmingly, what if Antarctica became a forward operating node in a nuclear standoff, shortening reaction times and destabilizing deterrence? Strategists understand a grim truth. Stability in the nuclear age depends on predictability. Antarctica introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty threatens the delicate balance, preventing catastrophe. In response, rival powers discreetly expand their own southern presence. New scientific expeditions arrive with upgraded communications arrays. Engineers install redundant power systems. Security perimeters quietly tighten. Each side insists these measures are precautionary, defensive, routine. But mirror image suspicion ensures that every defensive act appears offensive to someone else. And so, without a single declaration, an invisible arms race creeps across the ice. The environment itself amplifies tension. Antarctica is indifferent to ideology. Temperatures plunge low enough to freeze exposed skin in minutes. Katabatic winds roar like freight trains. Whiteouts erase horizon and depth perception alike. In such conditions, even routine operations become life-threatening. Now imagine conducting them while suspecting the station over the horizon might be more than it claims. Isolation magnifies fear. A garbled transmission becomes a potential signal test. A supply delay becomes evidence of covert buildup. Every anomaly invites interpretation, and in high-stakes geopolitics, interpretation often hardens into assumption. Then comes the incident that nearly turns suspicion into confrontation. A long-range patrol aircraft, mapping ice conditions, intercepts a powerful burst transmission originating deep within the continent. The frequency overlaps with known military channels. Analysts scramble. Some argue it's atmospheric interference. Others warn it could indicate weapons-related telemetry. Decision-makers face a familiar Cold War dilemma. Act too slowly and risk surprise, or act too aggressively and manufacture the crisis they fear. Defensive alert levels quietly rise. Naval assets reposition in the southern oceans under the guise of exercises. Diplomatic cables multiply. Each message is calibrated to avoid accusation while signaling vigilance. Behind closed doors, leaders confront the nightmare scenario. Escalation over a place never meant to host war. What makes this moment so dangerous is not intent. Neither side actually seeks conflict, but perception. Each fears appearing weak more than it fears being wrong. The logic of deterrence demands firmness, yet firmness edges perilously close to provocation. At the height of tension, scientists, very people meant to keep Antarctica apolitical, become unlikely intermediaries. Joint inspection proposals emerge. Verification teams are discussed. The language is cautious, diplomatic, almost clinical. But beneath it lies a shared realization. If suspicion continues unchecked, the continent could transform from symbol of cooperation into trigger or catastrophe. Negotiations are painstaking. Pride must be preserved. Sovereignty concerns must be respected. Yet, slowly, mechanisms take shape. Mutual inspections, signal transparency agreements, shared monitoring protocols. These measures don't eliminate distrust. They manage it. When joint teams finally survey the contested installations, the feared superweapons never materialize. The anomalous signals are traced to experimental communications gear, poorly documented, suspicious in isolation, but ultimately benign. The hardened facilities turn out to be over-engineered survival shelters, designed for a climate that punishes complacency. The crisis dissolves not with triumph, but with quiet relief. In this alternate history, the Antarctic scare becomes a classified lesson in escalation psychology. Leaders recognize how easily ambiguity, filtered through fear, can manufacture a battlefield where none exists. The continent returns, publicly, to its identity as a laboratory at the end of the Earth. But policymakers never forget how close suspicion came to militarizing the last untouched frontier. And that is the deeper story here. Antarctica was never just about ice or territory. It represented a test of whether rivals locked in ideological struggle could preserve a space beyond competition. The near crisis proved that peace in the Cold War wasn't maintained by trust. It was maintained by systems designed to contain mistrust before it spiraled. History is shaped as much by the wars that don't happen as by those that do. Decisions made in tense rooms, guided by incomplete information and human fear, determine whether a misunderstanding becomes a headline or a footnote. In our imagined timeline, Antarctica remains frozen, not just in climate, but in memory. A reminder that restraint can be as consequential as victory. The silent negotiations, the choice to inspect rather than accuse, to verify rather than escalate, echo far beyond the ice. They demonstrate that even at the height of rivalry, cooperation is not weakness, it is survival. Because sometimes the most important battles are the ones humanity decides not to fight. If you enjoy exploring alternate histories and the hidden tensions that shaped our world, subscribe for more stories where the line between what happened and what almost did reveals how fragile history can be.